I want to get right into this terrorist threat. Egypt launching airstrikes against ISIS in Libya in response to those horrible beheadings of Coptic Christians from Egypt. Lawmakers here at home not happy with the president's strategy, but the president says we have ISIS on the run. Roll tape.
It's going to take time to dislodge these terrorists, especially from urban areas. But our coalition is on the offensive. ISIL is on the defensive, and ISIL is going to lose.
Amber Smith is a former U.S. Army helicopter pilot and a military fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. Amber ran combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan, and she joins us now. Amber, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I want to ask you, first of all, about that base in Iraq, which is now threatened by ISIS. There are 300 Marines at that base, and I believe they've got choppers, they've got helicopters at that base. Why don't we just get into those helicopters and go and, take it out on ISIS, which is only a couple of miles away? Why don't we do that?
Well, you're absolutely correct. First of all, this is symbolically huge for ISIS to be able to attack an airbase in Iraq that has over 300 U.S. Marines. So once again, they'll be able to use that as propaganda and recruitment techniques. And really, it just goes to show that this so-called air campaign that the administration saying that they are waging against ISIS is mediocre at best, and they are not using all of the resources, including attack helicopters, to go after ISIS and push them back.
Is this, I don't want to exaggerate, but it does seem to be a huge threat. Are we approaching World War III? Again, I don't want to exaggerate this, but it does occur to a lot of people that this is a global war.
It is a global war, and if this administration continues to turn a blind eye to it and appears to be in denial over the real threat and the realities of what ISIS is looking to do in terms of establishing a global caliphate, it may well be. And what the Obama administration refuses to acknowledge is that sooner or later they are going to have to deal with ISIS, and you can go after them right now when they're still a fairly new organization. They're still recruiting, they're still gaining strength. Or we can wait, which is what the Obama administration is doing. They're all about containing instead of defeating, and then we're going to have to actually go after them in a few years, which will be a much harder fight when they're that much more well-funded, that much more well-trained, and that much bigger in terms of force and size.
Now, you're an accredited helicopter pilot. You've flown in action. You've fired those guns and missiles in anger, I do believe. Why are you now, and I think you are taking a hard line, you want action, you want military action. Why are you saying this now? Well,
look, no one wants to go to war. No one wants a full-out ground war. But you have to face the facts that evil exists in this world. And right now, evil looks exactly what ISIS is. They're beheading American citizens. We just saw that they brutally murdered, they beheaded Christians in Libya. That is the face of evil. We have to stop it. We have to preserve our way of life. And when our national security is threatened, you have to defend it. That looks like, unfortunately, you can't win a war and defeat an ideology with a mediocre air campaign.
What's the feeling within the military? Obviously, you're closely in contact with people who are on active service. Do they want to fight? Do they want to?
Well, they want a commander-in-chief who is going to lead them with a clear and coherent strategy in how to accomplish mission success. And right now, they're not seeing any of that. They're seeing budget cuts to the military. They're seeing their different sorts of benefits getting cut while this war is raging, and the military knows sooner or later they're going to have to go fight it. And you should never, ever send our troops into harm's way with their hands tied behind their back. You need to give them the full support of the military and this administration, and give them all the tools and resources that they need to defeat the enemy, not just go and sit on an airbase defenseless while the enemy is attacking you.
Would you go back and be one of those boots on the ground and fly your helicopter and attack ISIS? Would you do that?
Absolutely. I served for 7 years and 8 months, and I did a year in Iraq and a year in Afghanistan, and I signed up and joined the military because I believe in this country and everything it stands for, and I want to preserve everything that this country was founded on for future generations. And I know that sometimes that takes a military force.
Amber, thank you very much for your service, and thank you very much for appearing with us today. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Now to Europe.